Hello, everyone. We are here with today for the first video podcast of catching up with our batchmates of Helenas 2000-2001. And we are here today with Roma Bajaj-Kohli. Hi, Roma.
Hi, Monica. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this, because I think it is very important, and this is such a beautiful initiative that you have taken to really connect to our roots back again, to our friends who we lost so many years back, and we all have flown to different parts of the world. So it's amazing. Thank you for doing this and holding this space.
Thank you so much for jumping in and being the courageous one to be the first one for the video. So we'll go right in. How do you remember yourself at school? If you could just tell us what you were in terms of personality and how you perceived school, especially towards the end, not like when we were really, really small, maybe towards the end, so we can start our journey from there to now.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a wonderful question. It really takes me back in time to think about when school was ending. I remember in 9th grade, we had our school till 10th grade. So till 9th grade, I felt very underconfident, not enough within myself. I wasn't sure what was happening. Why am I in school? What am I doing here? I really felt I didn't belong wherever I was. And it has multiple factors. It's not just the school, it's just everything together. And then I remember in 10th grade, I had somebody really help me. My brother's, very good friend helped me for my preparation for my boards. And my score was something beyond my expectation. And I was blown away by the confidence and the love for studying and education I developed in that last year of school. I felt like I left school knowing so many things about me that I didn't know all the years being in school. So I would say all years of my school were pretty same. I felt like I didn't belong here. I didn't fit in the whole school environment, but I was never able to see the good in me. But it was while I exited school, like the last year, I really felt like, no, I have something. There's something in me that I wasn't fully clear of my path, but I know that there was something, and I knew I was capable, I was able. And that was huge for someone who spent most of her school years, which is almost like 10, 12 years. We were 15 when we were in 10th grade, like spending 14 years of your life not knowing who you are. It was a huge win for me.
And when you say that you didn't know who you are in school, what does that mean? Like in terms of personality, you had a strong personality and you knew your likes, dislikes, preferences. In what way were you lost in school?
I think most importantly, I was lost in terms of not being an academic, good high achiever. I wasn't always from growing up, right from nursery. I remember getting my first 0 on 10 and coming home being absolutely happy about it, because I'm like, who cares? You celebrate even your failures. And that was a knowing within me. But then the rejection and the disappointment that I saw on people's faces, right from the tempo that, like the rickshaw that I used to go back home in, to my parents, it just led that hopelessness, that rejection, that denial within me. So I felt very lost in school. And there were times I was picked up for having lice in my hair, for hearing different like, would that be bullying? Maybe yes, maybe not, however you want to term it. But there were times I felt I was picked up on for not being, one of the top rankers, for being the last benchers. And then always, like, my mom came to school many times to sometimes complete my notes, to really fill in for me, to talk to my teachers, to tell them if I could have extra tutoring with them, etc. So I really felt like this broken, not complete, not deserving enough, not knowing my full potential, not trusting who I was. So I really felt like someone who was incomplete. So in that sense, I mean that I didn't really know I didn't know my personality. Though I did know that I was a very fun person. And when it came to having fun and in some areas of my life, I could do really well. But I wasn't at a point where I could put the foot down and say, this is what I want, because I had no confidence. So in those are the areas where I really didn't feel like I knew who I was, or never had the confidence to put the faith in myself, trust in myself, and be like, here, this is who I am.
Okay. And how did you go forward from there? So you finished school and there you were much more confident and happy with your results. And how did you orient yourself and why did you choose whatever domain you choose? So what happened next?
Oh, for me, it really didn't, the academic accomplishment was just something that gave me temporary happiness, because in long term, right, like if you are seeking validation for yourself from external things, it will only last you so much. So it was for me a time where I did go into 12th grade, feeling nice and confident about myself, dating the coolest guy I wanted to date in college, and I feeling really good about myself. But I remember as soon as it came to choose a career after 12th, I did my graduation in like correspondence while I was doing an undergraduate course in fashion. So, but those were the moments where I realized I hadn't fully embodied my confidence and my trust in myself. I mean, now looking back, I can say that in that moment, all I could say was I was confused. I didn't feel like I had a voice. I didn't feel like my voice mattered. So I wouldn't say it. I was just a very good child to my parents. I did not want to hurt them anymore, because I felt like growing up, I gave them a lot of pain, and because of my academic, like no accomplishments. So I just wanted to be the good girl and just listen to whatever it is they wanted to say to me. So even before I finished my diploma in designing and I was in my undergrad, I was 18 and I met my husband, who I'm married to now for 14 years. So I was introduced through, like, it was like an arranged introduction. But of course, we got time, because I was so young, we got time to have a courtship period. And so it turned into a love marriage in that time. But I want to say that I did not fully believe in myself and followed my gut or my intuition even then. It wasn't until I gave birth to my second child, and she was a daughter. My firstborn is a son and my second one is a daughter. It wasn't until I gave birth to her, and when she started growing up and she started mirroring to me all the insufficiencies, insecurities, lack of confidence, both my kids started mirroring to me all of that. It was like a wake-up call for me, and it was almost like I need to get my shit together. Sorry, I don't know if we can use
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead. I was like, no, I need to get myself together, because I just don't want to, recreate my story. I want them to live their story. And if my story is a part of their legacy, then may it be as a lesson to get inspired from, to learn from, and to grow from. And so the first most important barrier in that journey was having a career. I was by then, I had accomplished like 5 to 6 years of experience working in the fashion industry in India. When I started traveling with my husband to different, jobs, assignments that he had, it just became I couldn't find a stable job or a career for myself. And it just so happened, we are living 9 months somewhere, we are living 1 year somewhere, sometimes 2 years somewhere. And it was just very, very hard for me to find a stable, sustainable job. Because whenever I would go, they would be like, oh, you haven't done your fashion from London, for example, or you haven't like studied from an international school. So how can we give you a job? But I remember consistently being at it. And so that's really where I realized that, oh my goodness, I'm really persevering. I'm really brave. I put myself, like there was a point of time when I was in India, I was heading a corporate wear brand. And I was working with celebrities for fashion shows. And we had these 6-7 stores to which we were supplying. I was the head designer. But I remember when I went to London and I wanted to start from somewhere. And I remember going back to doing an internship after. And I realized at that point, I was very mad at myself that what am I doing with my career? But then I was like, it's okay. I can start small and I can start from wherever I am right now, because this is all what I have and I want to make the most of it. So I started with an internship that did not pay me, that made me do ridiculous job like buying coffees from them, cleaning their toilets, sewing bridal gowns and sewing some patches, ironing. And I was like, I've done all of this and I don't want to do all of this now. But then I did it because what's important is you enjoy the journey and where you are at. And so I think I've come a long way from there. And I don't want to hijack the whole. It's a long story, but I think.
But getting back to just right after school, you said you went into designing. So at that particular time when you were taking up your graduation, what was your viewpoint? Why you picked up designing, and what was the passion you had for it, and what did you see yourself doing in it? Just going back a little bit before we come here.
So I would say that I was scared to have a passion, because in order to have a passion, you needed to have the belief in yourself to follow your passion. I still hadn't had that fully. I was happy in some areas of my life, but I hadn't fully integrated myself in myself. So I didn't choose fashion designing. It was something that my mom chose for me, because she felt that just knowing me, and I love her for that, because I think I've hated her for that for a very long time, but now I really love her for that, because it was one of the most, one of the jobs of a parent is not just to nurture a child, but to also understand what are their gifts and talents, and to provide a landscape of opportunities for that. So I think that decision was more her than mine. Looking back now, like really, it's only in the last, I think, a decade, I know that if it was up to me, I would have chosen to probably go the MBA route, because I am an entrepreneur by heart. I know it. It runs in my genes, and I know that I am a rule breaker. I am someone who walk against the grain. I'm a trailblazer. So, and I know I'm a problem solver. So I know these things about me, but I did not feel it with that strength in my body at that time. Neither was I convinced myself that I could do this. MBA was too big a dream for someone who was used to only seeing majority red lines in her report card growing up in school. And 10th grade, just 1 year of success was not the proof enough. Like the balance wasn't happening. I had so many years of those red lines in my report card. The balance didn't match up. The math didn't make sense in my head to say that, no, screw it. I'm going to do MBA and I'm going to follow my dream. And I'm going to, I don't know if I wanted to become an entrepreneur then, but I knew I wanted to do an MBA. I wanted to do something with my career. I wanted to do something related to maybe HR or be an entrepreneur. I knew now I know it very clearly.
Okay, so you took fashion designing anyways, and so what was your approach towards that? How did you absorb that? How did you correspond to that?
So initially, I think first one, I think I'm also someone who whatever is presented to her, she makes it into an opportunity. So I aced it. I totally loved it. I think I came first in the first 2 semesters of my fashion designing. I stood first in the college and in my undergrad program, and it was a beautiful experience. I don't remember regretting or not liking any bit of it, because I'm a person who makes the most of what I have.
And so finally, after working all these years in fashion designing, what are the lessons that you have learned? What is it that you would like to share? Maybe something particular about your field, or general lessons of a working woman or a working person. What would be?
I'm actually not, I actually worked, like, I started working very young. I started working right after my undergrad in the fashion industry. So I would say I worked for about 6-7 years in the industry, first as an intern, then as a designer, then a head designer. And then I started teaching in Symbiosis Institute of Design as a guest faculty for fashion design students. And I did it up until 2010. And after that, my career just took a whole new adventure. I became a serial entrepreneur. So I've tried my hand at many careers, at many like entrepreneurial ventures. So I would say, from fashion designing, if I were to derive something, I would say that learning about fashion and the style was very empowering for me, because it helped me recognize who I was compared to so much fashion that goes around in the world. What is my style? How do I like to depict myself? What are the colors I choose? And so a lot of my personality was known to me. My skills were known to me. My talents were known to me because of fashion. So yeah, I mean, from fashion specifically, if I have to derive, I would say a huge part of my personality was derived from that. I also learned, being in the fashion industry, how much I love adorning myself, not necessarily with lots of jewels, but like really looking good every single day, even if my agenda of the day is to only wake up and mop the floors in the house or cook for my family. Like I would never wake up and like I would wake up, do my workout and everything, and I would never wake up and just look like a rag, even when for the longest time I was a housewife.
This is interesting. It's really interesting, because it looks like it's a whole science, and like a divination science, like when you tell something about a person's personality based on their sun sign, is the same thing. If you analyze the way someone dresses, or how they respond to fashion, what is the place fashion has in their life, maybe you can tell something about themselves. So you should even think of maybe doing these kind of consultations, where you get in with the person and you understand how she does, and you give him a feedback on what their personality and traits are and what are their strong and minus points. It's interesting. I never really looked at fashion from this point of view. So
yeah, I mean, I would add another thing, that there is right now I'm a life coach, so I'm into studying a lot about neuroscience, brain, metaphysics, and all of these things. So I want to say that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the first tools they give you is like, get up from doing whatever you're doing, take one step like after each other. So if you are someone who's like really into depression, not feeling good about yourself, go shower, get out of the shower, put on something that makes you feel good about yourself, put that lipstick on, really like do whatever you can do to yourself that makes you feel good about yourself. Doesn't have to be lipstick, doesn't have to be earrings, but whatever it is that makes you feel good. So for I mean, even up until now, for me, it was big earrings. The day, so someone who really, really knows me would know that the day I'm wearing a big earring is the day I'm having a very, very hard emotional mental day. Because if I'm wearing a big earring, I'm trying to judge myself up and bring back that chutzpah, that enthusiasm that I usually have for life. but I'm just having a hard day. So if I'm
Yeah.
wearing big earrings and I'm really wearing something flowy and free, it's my way of feeling good in my body and my skin, to remind myself that I'm beautiful. Like, this is enough. Just me being here is enough.
That's nice. And what are very quickly, what are the various other projects in which you work, like domains in which you worked? You said you did a lot of entrepreneuria. So.
Oh, yes. So as a serial entrepreneur, I tried my hand first at selling homemade protein patties with, with compliments of, side dipping sauces. Then I was like, okay, this is amazing. All my friends who were working individuals loved it because it was a quick fix on a busy day, and that's what I wanted to cater to. Then I went the next step further in that, to develop finishing sauces and get it bottled and really sell it to wholesales like Costco, Whole Foods. So by then I was in USA. I was living in New Jersey. So then I started working on all that, only to realize, after working 2 years of doing R&D, trying all of this, only to realize that it wasn't really, like, I would have followed that dream. I still will follow that dream someday, but it just didn't fit very rightly in the scenario in which we moved from a city location to a suburban location. And so I shifted from doing, then I did a lot of catering orders. So when I was doing catering, I was doing baby showers, birthday parties. And again, it was very wildly successful. But it was just, I was getting exhausted in my body. And somewhere in my body, like in my gut, it wasn't feeling like the right thing to do. And then I wanted to study. So I went back to preparing for GMAT, thinking this time I'm going to get my MBA, because I was clear I wanted to do an MBA. But then I conceived my daughter. So that didn't happen. The financially didn't make sense. And so I was at the lowest point, I think, at that time. And then I was like, okay, we'll figure this out. Once she's a little bit older, we'll figure this out. And so I only committed like 5 years, I think. I did not, I was a housewife. And I tried my hands at doing maybe farmers market with the cooking and everything that I was getting into, and I was really intrigued into it. So, and because my mother is a culinary artist, so I felt like it came to me so naturally. Anything that I would cook, people were drooling over it. So I was like, okay, let me see what I can do with this. And so I pursued it for a little bit until I dropped it, because I got a scholarship to go to a yoga ashram or school in India. And for 1 month, I left my kids with my parents and my husband's parents back in India. And then I went for that 30-day training where I was away from the world. And just when I came out of yoga, I still remember having a dream of doing something with food. So I started yoga and fusion cooking classes. And I think it was thriving, but something within me started feeling again really empty. Like I wasn't really there. I wasn't really doing what I really wanted to do. And so when that call to adventure came again, that emptiness that came again, I call it my call to adventure, because every time that feeling comes, I do go through a lot of trials and failures, but I always come up as a whole different person. So when that came this time, I was being called towards learning how to become a coach. I had never gotten coaching before. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had my yoga teacher with whom I started learning yoga in US, introduced me to the coaching world. And I realized I was already doing that with my clients. So I used to teach 1-hour yoga sessions, and my clients would stay 30, 40, sometimes an hour after the session talking to me about, this is what is happening in my life. What can I do here? What do I do here? Can you suggest what is the good way to think, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I wasn't sure what I was doing, but a lot of my time and energy was going into this work. And so I was so grateful I found out what I was doing. And ever since then, I've pursued being a life coach. So I call myself a spiritual life coach, because I believe I teach my clients to really tap into their soul's purpose and follow their heart in every single way. I might not know so much about the moon and the tarot cards, but I do know what your soul wants. Like I can help you know what your soul wants to do and how does it want to live and express and be in this life that you have been given as a human. So yeah, that's my whole journey of coming to where I am right now.
That's interesting. Could you elaborate a little bit on the yoga center and what you learned there, what type of yoga it was? Because it seems interesting that it's something that literally gave you another orientation and it boosted you, I think, to be more in touch with yourself. So what was that about?
I mean, that yoga center, it was 30 days of going to a remote area where you are only surrounded by nature. You had no access to phone, very limited. Like in a day, I could talk only once. And my daughter at that time was 18 months and my son was probably under 4 years old. And my husband was in United States while my kids were there. So it was really hard. Like I remember on the 29th day when I met my kids, I was bawling, like I was literally down on my knees, bawling, just holding them in my arms. Because at first I thought, this is a retreat. I'm really going to enjoy myself here. I'm going to get lots of massages, spas, like Ayurvedic massages or whatever. But it wasn't. It was an intense full day packed right from 4:30 a.m. in the morning to 10 a.m. at night. It was a full day packed of deep exercises, like not just physical exercises. We did do physical like yoga for 2 hours morning and evening, but we could eat food only 2 times a day. We had lots of journaling reflections and like concepts and topics being taught to us, anatomy, philosophy of yoga. So it was just so comprehensive that it took me to the core of my being, took me to the parts of me that I didn't know I had. I didn't know I could like I couldn't understand the concept of a soul. I couldn't understand that, oh, I'm this pure light divine being. And I was like, what is all that? What? No, I'm this incomplete human being who's imperfect, who's not enough, and who has all these lack and scarcity doubts. But it was really, when I went to the yoga training, it was almost like a part of me was unveiled to me, peeled off in me, that I never knew. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I also had just conceived. So I believe I had put on a lot of weight from my second child. I had hardly lost from my first one, then I put on a lot of weight. So I lost so much weight. My skin was glowing, like really glowing. And I didn't know what was I doing different other than just being part of that 29-day retreat. And it was just like a whole mind, body, and soul cleanse. I would, like, if I were to sum it in one sentence, it was really that. And for me, it was almost like showing me who I really am, and then telling me, now what would you choose to do? So when I left that institute, I was scared to death, because I was like, I don't think I can survive. I don't think I can survive in the outside world. It's really not the best place for me to be. I really need to be only in an ashram all the time. And so when I saw my kids, there was this equal part longing to show them what I had found, to lead my life on the principles and lifestyle of yoga, and to really and obviously a part of me wanted to just stay in that serenity, tranquility, but there was this equal part longing to go out there and really live by example, and not be less of a teacher and more of a co-creator with my family, to really build a life of joy. Like that's the only word that comes to my mind. And yeah, I mean, that's the experience for me.
It's beautiful. What was the center and where was it?
Okay, so this is in sorry, one second. I keep forgetting the name of this town where it is, but it is called Govardhan Eco Village. And they have their presence all over social media. You can easily find them. It's run by the ISKCON community, and it's almost like a 3,000-acre property where there are goshalas. And so we were cleaning the cows as one of our seva parts, and we taught blind kids yoga. So it was just like a whole life.
Mhm.
Like it was a very deep experience, I would say.
Interesting. Interesting. So coming back to your family, how did your family respond to this new you, this person who is a life coach now, who's finally found her thing and is doing it passionately? So how did that impact your family and how did they respond to it?
I think with everything, every change, or when you change as a person, there's always an initial resistance. But I'm fortunate to be born in a family that just deeply, they just love you and hold you for who you are. So I remember going into this training and my mom and my mom-in-law talking to each other and feeling like, oh my God, is she going to run away and come back? Like she won't be able to last there. I like my brother and my mom went to leave me, and when my brother left me in that room, he's like very protective about me. He left me in that room. He just looked at me like, I don't know, like I really don't know if you're going to be fine. So I said, don't worry. If nothing, I'll just be living in this room for 29 days. Okay, I'll be fine. So at least this is a safe space. I can't run away somewhere. So yeah, there was a little bit of resistance, and also for me to be able to adapt all those teachings into this life of mine was really hard. So I was hard on myself, on my kids, on my husband, like, no, you got to do it this way, this way, to only realize that only I needed to role model and embody what I had learned. And they just, when they saw me just be me, by like this, be me, by being me, I mean the new me, they just got attracted towards me. Like I remember I used to wake up at 4 a.m. for almost 9 months. I woke up at 4 a.m. every morning to do yoga, my pranayam, and my full exercise and meditation. I remember my husband and kids on weekends joining me for it. And the first day when I was doing a headstand and my daughter is like, what are you doing? She was like really young at that time. So she's like, what are you doing, mama? I want to do it too. And I remember them joining me. Then the kids and me are having so much fun. So my husband is like, why am I missing the party there? And so he joins me. So he joins us. And so it just became a very, yeah, I went from trying to control, bring them in, no, you have to do it, this can change your life, to realizing that they didn't experience what I experienced. So I need to just keep doing me. They'll come when they find it right. It was just realizing the equal, the balance between letting go and but still keeping my discipline and my life forward, like taking my life forward in the new way I had found comfortable for me to really shine my light. So yeah, it was also when I took the path from when I went from yoga to cooking, then from cooking to yoga, then from yoga cooking, and then moving to life coaching. I met, like, literally I've had people looking at me, like my own family looking at me, and they're like, you're so confused, like you really don't know what you want to do, like you're really just all over the place. And my husband also at times like telling me that I really think that you run away from doing the hard work. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not feeling it. Like I'm really not feeling it at this time. I'm going to listen to myself, even though it feels completely wrong for you. And yeah, I've met a lot of dead stares and what are you doing and all of those things, but I've never been so sure about what I want to do in my life with myself than now. So I felt like it was time. I stood up at least for myself, if no one else did.
This is really inspiring because I know the toughest thing is to adapt to a different lifestyle than your family and to maintain it all the while living with them. This is the biggest challenge that even yogis face, and all people who might be doing something different face. And if you're able to do it all the while staying with your family and getting them in with you, it's really, really inspiring. It's also a great achievement.
Thank
so
you.
Tell me now where you are at, what are your aspirations and what are you looking forward to? Like what are you aiming at, where you're heading from now?
Okay, so So I actually am at a very good point right now, but I didn't come here. I went through like when I became a coach, I went through another huge challenge of feeling like an imposter. Like really, like who the hell do you think you are? You are doing whatever you are doing. Also because I think I found the gift that I was born with in this world. And the coaching came so naturally to me that it almost felt effortless. And it's all of my fears and my insecurities telling me, isn't this supposed to be hard? Isn't it supposed to be a hustle to earn a living, to make the amount of money you are making? Like, how can you? Who do you think you are? So I really came from, I'm really at a point where I've broken up with my imposter syndrome, or can you say I've made love with it? Like I've accepted it as a part of me, either one of the way. But I'm really at a point where I feel very established in my own knowing, in my own wisdom, and also in the fact that knowing that I don't know it all. I still don't know it all. And I'm completely okay with it. Like I'm so okay with it that it's unreal. So I'm at a point where I believe I'm a lifelong student and a master at the same time. And I know I can be both. So from here, it was when I made this integration within me. It took me like good 4 years to do it, but it was when I made this integration within me that now my vision has grown, in the sense I can see how all the parts of me, like the old parts of me and the unknown parts of me, like the future parts of me, are like is right here. So even though I have a vision, a dream to grow into a huge wellness company, and in many, many ways, to be able to bring wellness into like ancient wisdom into modern day lifestyle, that's my dream, like that's my ultimate dream. But I just like, I don't have the how. Sometimes I also don't have the what. But what I really have is this grand vision of where I am taking this work and all the people that this is going to benefit. And most importantly, who I am becoming in this process. And all of those pieces are with me right here, right now. It's just that that dream is somewhere in the potential field, in the potentiality somewhere. So I'm at this place where I feel whole, capable, resourceful, and complete in my own self. And I know that my dream is really big, like scary big, sometimes so big that like my fear gets shivers down her spine, and she's almost like, stop, you're too much for me. But I feel like I was unleashed. I was unleashed in that yoga program, and I have keep getting unleashed, and I'll never come back to that me. Like, so I've always wanted to have something to do with food, something to do with creating experiences, something to do with my fashion. And I don't have any idea of how I'm going to bring all of them together, but I know that my spirituality, I just know that this is what makes a human being whole and complete. And I know that I will be one day leading this company that is going to provide all of these experiences.
That's nice. So maybe you could tell us a little now about your company and exactly what you do, and who are the type of people who can benefit from the services that it's providing.
Right. So my company is wellnessbyroma.com. You can go look me up on my website. And right now, what Wellness by Roma is really offering is yoga, pranayam, which is breath work, and meditation, classes and opportunities for you to really learn to start getting from your mind into your body. And on the deeper level, I am the founder of the Awaken Mind Method program. It's a method that I have developed from myself, being a student of the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita, one of the two like deep philosophy books that gave me a life manual. And so there were certain aspects of life that I didn't understand and didn't know what to do, but some principles, some things that I learned from these philosophical books that really changed my perspective. So I am all about changing your perspective, then changing your life. So that's what I'm offering right now, is the program and the yoga and that. But on the other side, what Wellness by Roma has also started doing, which was always my dream, is funding small startups. So right now I'm working with a startup in India. So I'm not really funding in terms financially yet, but I am providing my time, my expertise in having run all these businesses and failed maybe a million times to really now bring that company. It's going to be a reading app, like a reader's ecosystem that we are trying to build. It's in India. I'm collaborating with partnering with someone. So wellness is everywhere, and for me, like doing something of that sort really makes me provide my mission, my vision into a company through reading and through literary. So it's very odd for someone who hasn't had a good academic background to be doing something like this, but yeah, that's one of my recent passions and the newest thing in my life right now, and I'm extremely honored up to just deeply humbled and grateful to be part of it.
That's really nice. And what exactly do the sessions that you do, what do they consist of? Maybe as a life coach, and what are the different services your company provides? Exactly what does it consist of?
Yeah, so right now my company is just me. I'm my brand, like I'm the self brand,
exactly.
Personal brand. So I provide one-on-one coaching consultant, and I run 2 to 3 times a year a group program. So yeah, I mean, my ideal audience is a high achiever who relentlessly believes that there's more within them, but doesn't know who they are and what they want to do. So I remember there was a point in my life where I used to go to these virtual networking events for entrepreneurs, and I did not have a title, and I did not wanted to call myself a stay-at-home mom. So what I used to call myself is a confused preneur. So I really like to say that my client is someone who goes from being a confused preneur to being a soulpreneur. Or even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you are someone who will go from having lots of confusion, feeling overwhelmed, feeling frustrated, self-sabotaging your own self most of the time, then to really becoming this whole person that you are, and knowing those parts of you, embodying those parts of you, and leading your life from that place of passion and purpose.
So how does this work, life coaching? People have sessions with you where it's almost like a little bit like you're with the shrink, or is it that you do activities with them, or I don't know, how does this work?
So it's the setup is like you would set an appointment with a therapist or a psychiatrist, but for me, from where I see coaching is like, I take my clients from going from a functional place, striving place, to a thriving place. So it's a bit of both. It's a bit of talking, where we are communicating, but it's also about asking the right questions, and leading them to their own answers that are already lying within them. So, and I do that through different modalities, through using some tools of yoga, using some philosophical concepts from the books that I have studied, introducing them to trainings and topics that I usually know my clients suffer from, teaching them about that. I have pre-recorded sessions that I give to my clients as and when I know it's necessary. Then I give them a lot of journaling homework, give them a lot of sometimes recorded meditation, customized recorded meditations that they specifically need to release that subconscious block within them. So yeah, like these are all the multiple tools and ways. Most of my tools come from yoga, like come from the ancient wisdom that has already been there for thousands of years. Yeah, and I just bring that more in a customized and in a more profound way, if I may say, for each individual, like for each person. So even if I'm working in a group, it's more about providing those epiphanies through asking the most powerful questions. So, so yeah, I think I do that. That's how I do it.
Okay. And what would be the type of people who you would like to connect to, that, you know, on a professional front or a personal front? What kind of
So
people?
most of my clients come, they are either highly creative or are high achievers in their professional field and work, but they have led themselves to frustration, overwhelm, and burnout, if I may say. And one of the core things is that they have achieved quite a few things in their life, but are not fully embodying it and are not fully feeling the wholeness of being that achieve, like that person who's had all these achievements. They always feel like there's something lacking within them, there's something not enough within them. And so these are the typical type of people who I attract, men, women, both. I've recently started attracting teenagers, and I think I love working, but what I see is, doing this work, I usually attract the people with the same core wound as me. So it was my wound of the fear of failure and the fear of rejection, that's who I always attract, that they come with the same core problem. And then it's beautiful to just help them see that there's a life beyond feeling rejected and feeling like a failure, and how much more is possible for you when we just cut the ties of, feeling the validation from outside, waiting for that next degree to say that I'll be happy when I have that certificate in my hand. Only to realize by the time you get there, you push it to another level. So I usually, I want to say I attract people who know what they like, know that there's something more within them, but they are not fully showing up there, and are high achievers, type A, creative or professional people.
So it's really nice. If I summarize your journey, it is so inspiring, from someone who is really impacted by the red lines, because I'll later on share my experience on the red lines. Like, we all had red lines, but you seem to be particularly impacted by me. Mine, for example, I didn't care. I had a lot of red lines and I didn't care. But so from someone who was really impacted by that to someone who took up, who got over it and who started doing her activities, who even got into I would say an early marriage, since it was right after graduation. And the most crazy part is who went away on a retreat when you had a child of 18 months. So I believe, like, you have a great husband who supported you through this and was taking care of all this, and who came out of that completely open like a flower, ready to give something to the world. And now here you are doing exactly what you're meant to do, and every day growing with it and having this desire that others grow with you. So it's a beautiful journey, and I really, really thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you for holding space for me while I go through all of that.
Nice. Listening to you, there are a couple of things that I'll share. Like, after I do this with each one, if there's something that interpels me and something, an incident or something which I had with you, it would be, I think, a nice time to share this. I remember the first time I had met you, it was in KG class. I think we were together from KG class, and we were not really friends or something. And it was the day we had to take photos, the class photo. And we were, in KG, you come with your own clothes. You don't have the uniform, and everybody dressed up. Like, we knew it was for the photo, so we could dress up and come, And you came dressed as a Christian bride. I remember, like, you were so small and tiny, and I still have that photo. And I was there, and I don't know what, maybe I was dressed up as a boy, or maybe like, just a normal clothes. And I saw you and I was like, my God, she's beautiful. And, we were in KG class, so we didn't have any concepts. And it's funny, when I see this, I realize that I didn't used to identify with my body. So I didn't know I'm a girl, I'm a boy, what anything means. And I just looked at you and I'm like, you're so beautiful. Can you get married? Like, can I marry you? And we were like crazy like in KG kids, okay? And I didn't even know what a marriage means. I didn't know it's between men, women, or what, nothing, like, no gender identification, nothing. Just you're dressed as a bride and you're so beautiful. I'm like, wow, you're so beautiful. And you're like, no. So that's what I remember of you, just someone who was very on that day, very beautiful. Yeah. And another thing that interpelled me was this thing about red lines. I remember we had the report card with all the columns, and you could, with every unit test, you had the marks. And I usually would get red lines when I wasn't up to studying. And I would say that, look, it's the last thing that counts, right? The last count that counts, the final. So why study during the year? So always I would have like red lines all throughout. And then in the last 2 terms, I would be fine. And my mother, she had a principle. Every time there's a red line, she would say, go get it signed by your father. And if you have passed, I'll sign. Because she didn't like that. Like, she's like, I'm not going to sign up as a parent for a child who's failing. So she clearly used to tell me how unhappy she was with that. And my dad used to sign it happily. He would be like, whatever it is, it's okay. As long as you don't flunk the year, I'm okay with what you do the rest of the time. So I used to happily get it signed from him. But I understand this, and I remember that it's all these things can really impact, because in school everything is so oriented to the marks that you can literally feel if you're not having a certain number of marks, you're not in the category of 70s or even more than 65 onwards, you're completely dull, or like you're stupid, or you don't count. And I understand that completely. But I'm glad that this just goes to show how our education systems are not perfect, and the scales of measurement that they offer are not complete. And we should really do everything not to identify ourselves with it, and maybe give that as a lesson to our future generation. So yeah, this just a small nugget I wanted to share on something that struck me.
No, that's beautiful. I love the first one that you shared, Monica. It's so beautiful because it's beautiful how you put it, that you had no sense of identification. And who has, as a kid, whether I'm a man or a woman or I'm a female, who am I? Like, how does it matter? And what you really understood in that moment was pure love. Yeah. You just understood that, my God, like, I feel this level of love and affection, and you can feel it for anyone, and none of those feelings are wrong. I mean, it's sad, like in today's world, LGBTQ, trans people, like all of them are fighting for their rights. But I say, when you understand love at that level, there would be no fighting for justice, because where you in a society, in a patriarchal society, where you are fighting for justice, is because not every single person has experienced love, one for themselves and then for another, be it a living thing or a non-living thing, be an animal or whatever. Like, you have not really experienced the depth of love. And I think that moment that you shared is beautiful, because what you experienced in that moment was true love.
Just white with rosy cheeks, red lipstick, and you're the most beautiful girl. If someone walks in a bridal dress, what other question are you going to ask?
Right.
But that said, I'm not of the LGBT group. But,
I know.
Now. But yes, going beyond identifying yourself to a man and woman is so important. As you know, even in yoga, we all have male and female energies. So instead of identifying with our body, if we understand that we have both these aspects, the strength that the strength of a man per se, that drive to do things, everything that's analytics and money matters and calculations, And we also have the softness and the intuition and the love and compassion that the feminine energy has. And therefore, we are not really man and woman. We are just energy. So now at not from the LGBT way, but from this way, I'm definitely in this phase where I'm still not identified to being a woman. So yeah.
That's beautiful, because I know the feminine and the masculine, both these elements live within us, and that's really the balance, is to hold your ground between these two elements and energies. And people say, I don't know, there is no balance in this world. I believe there is. If you can understand this part of you, these aspects of you, there is balance, because there is a yin and a yang. And it's so beautiful. Yeah, I love the way you explained it. Perfect.
Thank you. So I guess that this is it. I'm hoping that more people will join in. I was hoping that maybe if I even post one video per week, we can do. We have so many people to get to know and catch up with. So I'm hoping that other people who are watching this, they can also come forward and do these videos, just so that we can catch up. It's not to judge. It's not to listen to your whole life story to find something to bitch about. It's really, as you can see, everything that I've heard has just inspired me. I must also say that I didn't have a very empowering viewpoint of housewives, because my own mother was a working mother, and coming from a middle class family, I place tremendous amount of importance on money and financial independence. So I never understood long back as well that how could anybody be a housewife, and like how, like it's definitely not for me, but I never even understood how somebody else could be. But the more and more in the last few years, especially today, no, I don't hold that view anymore, but it's meeting people like you and so many others who show time and again that it's not about being in a well-drawn career path. It's not about having a corporate life. It's not about earning the big bucks. It's about you can spend 10 years at home, but in those 10 years, what you're doing, how you're managing your own money, how you're managing your joint properties with your husband, what assets are you creating for yourself, how you're managing your life, are the same skill sets which later on or any point of time you can put to use in some business. And the more and more we are going forward in the world, it's the opportunities of being an entrepreneur are increasing. So it is not only about a corporate career from, like on LinkedIn, from graduation, then I worked here, then I did this, then I became a CEO. It's opened up, And so cases like yours are so inspiring to show that someone like, I can't imagine you have 2 kids and you had an 18-month kids, and after that you'd get up every day at 4 o'clock. It must be an effort, and to do that and then build this, and where you are, if this is not work, what is? This is great work. It's just great work, Roma. I really, really am touched by it, and thank you so much for sharing all this.
Thank you. I always say holding space is the grandest thing one can ever do. So thank you for holding space for me and still viewing me as whole when I went through the parts of my life that I wasn't fully proud of, that I had, like, I was nervous to share it. So somebody who's watching this must know that, yes, you may not have this grip like the way I had it, because I've been through my journey. I've healed certain parts of me, and there are huge parts of me that still need healing. But it's not that I don't feel fear. It's not that I don't question that, why am I coming here? Because there are parts of my story that I'm not proud of. But I want to say that every person's voice matters, and stories is what gets us through. You never know who's looking up to you today and getting inspired to just say yes to their life today. I don't know about tomorrow, but today they are looking at you and just want to say, yes, I'm going to live because I matter. And the more I go deeper into this work, the more I realize that it's not about the work I do. It's about how good or how clean, how uncontaminated as a vessel I can be to let the message of the divine just flow through me. So in how many ways can I just get out of my own way, clear the path to let the wisdom of my soul and of whatever power you believe in flow through you, and then you express that through, through your words, through your energy, whoever you are. And just like being over Zoom, I can feel your energy, and I can feel how warmly you held this space for me, and the questions you asked were like beautiful. Thank you.
I would like to end on a note by sharing this little concept also. Why I don't know why I started this. I wanted to start this. Something inside me is pushing me. And a part of me is like, you're never going to go back to India. I'm in Africa and I'm done with India. So part of me is like, you're never going to go back to India. 60, 80% of your school friends with whom you want to do this probably are going to be in India. Of what use is it? Like practical use. I said, no, I really feel this need to connect with all of them. And I realize also that I'm working a lot with feminine energies. So, the European concept, and when a lot of before the witch burning and everything, women would get together and very regularly they would do certain rituals and just even be together. Even in the Indian culture, we have women being together so strongly, and we don't have that, anymore. We are in a lifestyle completely different. We are in not even with our families. We stay in nuclear families away from everybody. And we don't even have many girlfriends that we really see regularly or connect to. And I feel this is like, energetically, even creating this kind of a circle of sharing will make an energy go around and will reconnect us and can, refresh some of us who need this energy. So I feel it is like really using this network that we have of school, having gone, the only advantage of being to a girls' school could be this, that if I have to work on feminine energies and learn and share my lessons, I could come back to the circle because otherwise being in a girls' school we were missing out on a lot of things. So the sorority aspect of it is something I would really like to build.
Right. And you put a very important point. We as humans don't realize we thrive on connection and contribution. And this is not just your way to connect, but also your way to contribute to my life, to someone else's life who you are going to interview next, like going to do a video podcast with, because what they are going to learn about themselves, learn about you, learn about this authentic way of connecting with each other is beautiful. It's just amazing. So I hope that everyone who's watching this gets inspired to come and speak here.
Thank you so much, Roma. And on that note, we'll end this video podcast, and I will wish everybody a very nice day and hope to talk to you guys soon.